What if I told you that the most advanced medical advice for your body, your mind, and your soul wasn't discovered in a modern laboratory, but was written down thousands of years ago in the pages of the Bible? For centuries, millions of Christians have read the scriptures for spiritual guidance. But hidden within the verses of Genesis, Exodus, the Psalms, and the Gospels is a profound, divine blueprint for human health. The Creator didn't just give us rules for living, He gave us the exact ingredients to sustain the bodies He designed. Today, modern science is finally catching up to ancient revelation. Peer-reviewed medical journals are now proving what the prophets and apostles knew all along. In this video, we are going to count down the top 20 drinks and liquids mentioned in the Bible. We will explore the exact scriptures where they are found, the ancient wisdom behind them, and the mind-blowing modern science that proves their miraculous healing properties. Get ready. What you are about to hear will change the way you read the Bible and the way you nourish your body forever. Let's begin. Coming in at number 20, we have a drink that has become a staple in modern health spas, but its roots go back to the ancient Israelites wandering in the wilderness. In the book of Numbers, chapter 11, verse 5, the Israelites cry out, remembering the foods they had in Egypt. We remember the fish we ate in Egypt that cost nothing, the cucumbers, the melons, the leeks, the onions, and the garlic. Why were they craving cucumbers in the scorching desert? Because ancient people knew that cucumbers were nature's perfect hydration system. Today, science tells us that cucumbers are 95% water. But it's not just plain water. When infused into a drink, cucumbers release silica, a trace mineral crucial for healthy skin, hair, and connective tissue. Furthermore, cucumber water is packed with antioxidants like cucurbitacins, which modern studies show help reduce inflammation and fight oxidative stress. The Israelites weren't just craving a vegetable, their bodies were crying out for cellular hydration in the unforgiving heat. At number 19, we find the sweet, refreshing essence of apples. In the poetic and passionate Song of Solomon, chapter 2, verse 5, the bride cries out, "Sustain me with raisins, refresh me with apples, for I am sick with love." In the ancient Near East, apples and their juices were considered a restorative tonic, given to those who were weak, fatigued, or recovering from illness. What does modern science say about the restorative power of apples? Apple juice and raw apple cider are rich in a powerful flavonoid called quercetin. Clinical studies have demonstrated that quercetin protects the lungs from oxidative damage and boosts the immune system. When the biblical writer asked to be refreshed with apples, they were literally asking for a scientifically proven immune and energy boost. Number 18 brings us to a humble seed with extraordinary power: flax. In Proverbs 31, the famous passage describing the virtuous and capable woman, verse 13 says, "She seeks wool and flax and works with willing hands." While flax was primarily used to make linen garments, the seeds and the oil extracted from them were a vital part of the ancient diet. Steeping flax seeds in water creates a mucilaginous drink that ancient healers used to soothe the digestive tract. Today, we know that flax seeds are one of the richest plant-based sources of alpha-linolenic acid, or ALA, a crucial omega-3 fatty acid. Cardiologists today recommend flax for reducing blood pressure and preventing arterial plaque. The virtuous woman of Proverbs wasn't just making clothes, she was cultivating cardiovascular health for her household. At number 17, we have a savory, earthy drink made from cumin. The prophet Isaiah mentions this vital crop in chapter 28, verse 25. When he has leveled its surface, does he not scatter dill, sow cumin, and put in wheat in rows? In ancient times, boiling cumin seeds in water was a common remedy for an upset stomach and sluggish digestion. Modern pharmacology has isolated the active compound in cumin, known as cuminaldehyde. Research published in medical journals confirms that cuminaldehyde stimulates the production of digestive enzymes and bile, drastically improving digestion. Furthermore, Recent studies have shown that cumin water can help regulate blood sugar levels, making it a powerful, ancient tool against modern metabolic diseases. Number 16 takes us to the New Testament, to the very words of Jesus Christ. In Matthew 23:23, Jesus rebukes the religious leaders, saying, "Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! For you tithe mint and dill and cumin, and have neglected the weightier matters of the law." While Jesus was making a point about justice and mercy, he inadvertently highlighted the immense value placed on these herbs. Dill and anise were so valuable, they were used as currency. Why were they so prized? Ancient mothers used dill and anise water to soothe colicky babies and calm anxious nerves. Today, science confirms that the essential oils in dill and anise contain antispasmodic properties. They literally relax the smooth muscles of the gastrointestinal tract. It is a divine remedy for stress and physical tension. Coming in at number 15, mentioned in that exact same verse by Jesus, is mint. Mint was cultivated in every biblical garden. A warm infusion of mint leaves was the standard drink offered to weary travelers to refresh them after a long journey on dusty roads. The secret behind mint is a compound called menthol. Modern gastroenterologists often recommend peppermint oil and mint tea for patients suffering from irritable bowel syndrome, IBS. Menthol acts as a natural calcium channel blocker, relaxing the muscles of the intestines. Furthermore, inhaling the steam from mint tea acts as a natural decongestant for the respiratory system. God designed this simple weed to be a powerful multi-purpose medicine. At number 14, we have a drink derived from the most majestic tree in the Bible, the cedar of Lebanon. In Leviticus 14, God gives Moses instructions for cleansing a person from infectious skin diseases. The ritual required cedar wood, scarlet yarn, and hyssop. While often used externally or burned, cedar infusions were known to ancient healers for their purifying properties. Today, scientists have analyzed cedarwood oil and found it is packed with cedrol, a compound with profound antiseptic, antifungal, and sedative properties. When consumed in highly diluted, careful infusions or inhaled as steam, it acts as a powerful purifying agent for the respiratory system. The biblical symbol of strength and incorruptibility is literally a biological shield against infection. Number 13 is a drink born from a commandment of God during the Exodus. In Exodus 12:8, God commands the Israelites regarding the Passover meal, "They shall eat the flesh that night, roasted on the fire, with unleavened bread and bitter herbs they shall eat it." These bitter herbs, likely chicory, endive, and dandelion, were steeped into teas or eaten raw to remember the bitterness of slavery in Egypt. But God's commands always have a dual purpose: spiritual remembrance and physical health. Modern nutritionists call these digestive bitters. When the bitter compounds hit the receptors on your tongue, it triggers the vagus nerve, sending a signal directly to your brain. Your brain then commands your stomach to produce acid, and your liver to release bile. Drinking a bitter herb infusion before a heavy meal, like roasted lamb, is the scientifically perfect way to ensure complete digestion and nutrient absorption. God was preparing their stomachs for the journey ahead. At number 12, we find a combination associated with the death of Jesus, but which holds incredible properties for the living. In John 19:39, after the crucifixion, we read, "Nicodemus also, who earlier had come to Jesus by night, came bringing a mixture of myrrh and aloes, about 75 pounds in weight." While used here in massive quantities for burial, aloe and myrrh were highly prized medicinal drinks in the ancient world. Aloe vera juice is now a massive health trend, and for good reason. It contains asamanin, a complex carbohydrate that accelerates cellular healing and coats the stomach lining, curing ulcers. Myrrh, a resin from a thorny tree, contains terpenoids that modern science has proven to be incredibly potent, anti-inflammatory and antibacterial agents. Together, they form a powerful elixir for internal healing. Number 11 brings us to one of the oldest fruits known to humanity, the fig. In 2 Kings chapter 20, King Hezekiah is at the point of death from a severe boil or infection. The prophet Isaiah gives a medical prescription in verse 7. And Isaiah said, "Bring a cake of figs, and let them take and lay it on the boil, that he may recover." Figs were used both as external poultices and boiled into sweet restorative drinks for the sick. Why figs? Figs are incredibly dense in essential minerals like potassium, calcium, and magnesium. But more importantly, they contain a unique proteolytic enzyme called phycin. Phycin helps break down proteins and aids in massive cellular repair and digestion. A warm fig infusion was the ancient equivalent of an IV drip of essential vitamins and enzymes. We are halfway through our countdown. At number 10, we have a drink that dominates modern grocery stores, but has biblical roots: almond milk. The almond tree is a symbol of resurrection and God's sudden intervention. In Numbers 17:8, God proves his chosen leadership. On the next day Moses went into the tent of the testimony, and behold, the staff of Aaron for the house of Levi had sprouted and put forth buds and produced blossoms, and it bore ripe almonds. In the ancient Middle East, where animal milk would spoil quickly in the heat, crushed almonds mixed with water provided a stable, nutrient-dense milk. Almond milk is a powerhouse of vitamin E, a fat-soluble antioxidant that protects cell membranes from damage. It is also rich in monounsaturated fats, which lower bad cholesterol. The ancient Israelites were drinking a heart-healthy, brain-boosting beverage long before the modern wellness industry existed. Coming in at number 9 is the drink of the working class, the builders, and the harvesters: barley water. Barley is one of the 7 sacred species of the Promised Land. Deuteronomy 8:8 describes Israel as a land of wheat and barley, of vines and fig trees and pomegranates. During the harvest, workers like Ruth would drink water infused with barley and a touch of vinegar to sustain their energy under the blazing sun. Barley water is a nutritional marvel. When you boil barley, it releases beta-glucans into the water. Modern cardiology has proven that beta-glucans bind to cholesterol in the digestive system and remove it from the body. Furthermore, it provides a slow, sustained release of carbohydrates, preventing blood sugar spikes. It was the ultimate ancient energy drink. At number 8, we have a drink that played a poignant role in the final moments of Jesus Christ's life. In Matthew 27:48, as Jesus hung on the cross, the scripture says, "And one of them at once ran and took a sponge, filled it with sour wine, and put it on a reed, and gave it to him to drink." This sour wine wasn't a cruel joke. It was a standard drink called Pascha. It was a mixture of water and wine vinegar, the daily ration of the Roman legions. Why did the greatest army in the ancient world drink vinegar water? Because it is a scientifically perfect hydration formula. The acetic acid in the vinegar kills bacteria, making stagnant water safe to drink. More importantly, it helps the body absorb calcium and provides essential electrolytes. Pascha was the ancient world's Gatorade, keeping soldiers hydrated and cramp-free during grueling marches. Number 7 is the ultimate biblical herb of purification: hyssop. King David, in his profound prayer of repentance in Psalm 51 verse 7, cries out, "Purge me with hyssop, and I shall be clean. Wash me, and I shall be whiter than snow." Hyssop was used to paint the blood on the doorposts during Passover, and it was consumed as a tea to cleanse the body of sickness. David's plea for cleansing with hyssop is scientifically profound. Modern phytochemical analysis reveals that hyssop leaves contain high levels of thymol and carvacrol. These are 2 of the most potent, broad-spectrum antimicrobial and antifungal compounds found in nature. Drinking hyssop tea literally purges the respiratory and digestive tracts of harmful bacteria. It is a biological purifier matching its spiritual symbolism. At number 6, we have the very definition of divine provision: milk and honey. When God called Moses at the burning bush in Exodus 3:8, He promised to deliver the Israelites to a good and broad land, a land flowing with milk and honey. This wasn't just a metaphor for agricultural wealth, it was a prescription for the perfect, life-sustaining beverage. In biblical times, this milk was primarily from goats or sheep, mixed with raw wild honey. The synergy of goat's milk and raw honey is a nutritional masterpiece. Goat's milk contains a 2-casein protein, which is vastly easier for the human gut to digest than modern cow's milk, and it is naturally homogenized. When you add raw honey, you introduce powerful enzymes, antioxidants, and natural antibacterial properties. The honey acts as a prebiotic, feeding the healthy probiotics in the milk. It is a complete, healing meal in a cup. We have entered the top 5. At number 5 is the royal nectar of the Bible, pomegranate juice. The pomegranate was so revered that God commanded its image to be woven into the hem of the high priest's garments. In the Song of Solomon 8:2, the bride says, "I would give you spiced wine to drink, the juice of my pomegranates." Modern science has placed the pomegranate at the absolute pinnacle of superfoods. Pomegranate juice contains punicalagins and ellagic acid, antioxidants so powerful that the juice has 3 times the antioxidant activity of red wine and green tea. Clinical trials have shown that drinking pomegranate juice can halt the progression of prostate cancer, lower blood pressure, and reverse arterial plaque buildup. The high priest wore the symbol of ultimate cellular protection. At number 4, we look not at the fruit of the olive tree, but its leaves. The olive leaf is the ultimate biblical symbol of peace and restoration. In Genesis 8:11, after the devastating flood, the dove came back to him in the evening, and behold, in her mouth was a freshly plucked olive leaf. So Noah knew that the waters had subsided from the earth. Ancient Mediterranean cultures didn't just press the olives for oil. They brewed the leaves into a potent, bitter tea to fight off severe fevers and infections. In the 1900s, scientists isolated the active compound in the olive leaf, oleuropein. Oleuropein is a phenomenal antiviral and antibacterial agent. It works by interfering with the amino acid production of viruses, preventing them from replicating. Today, olive leaf extract is used to naturally treat everything from the common cold to severe viral infections. The leaf that signaled the healing of the earth to Noah is the same leaf that heals the human body today. Coming in at number 3 is the most frequently mentioned beverage in the entire Bible, wine. Wine was a staple of the biblical diet, a symbol of joy, and a crucial medicine. The Apostle Paul gives direct medical advice to his protege Timothy in 1 Timothy 5:23. No longer drink only water, but use a little wine for the sake of your stomach and your frequent ailments. Furthermore, Jesus' very first miracle was turning water into high-quality wine at the wedding in Cana. Why did Paul prescribe wine for stomach ailments? Because in a world without water purification, the alcohol and acidity in wine killed waterborne pathogens like E. coli and Salmonella. But the science goes much deeper. Red wine, fermented with the grape skins, is loaded with resveratrol. This powerful polyphenol has been proven by modern cardiology to protect the lining of blood vessels in your heart, reduce LDL cholesterol, and prevent blood clots. God gave wine to gladden the heart of man, both spiritually and biologically. We are down to number 2. This is not just any water, this is the miraculous water that sustained a nation. In Exodus 17:6, the Israelites are dying of thirst in the desert of Rephidim. God tells Moses, "Behold, I will stand before you there on the rock at Horeb, and you shall strike the rock, and water shall come out of it, and the people may drink." Moses struck the rock, and a river flowed in the desert. But consider the geology of the region. The rocks in the Sinai Peninsula are predominantly limestone and sandstone. When water flows through these specific rock formations, it undergoes a natural filtration and mineralization process. It picks up massive amounts of calcium, magnesium, and potassium. Modern science tells us that alkaline, mineral-rich water is vastly superior to purified dead water. It neutralizes acid in the bloodstream, boosts metabolism, and allows for rapid cellular absorption. God didn't just give them water, He gave them the highest quality, mineral-dense artesian spring water on earth. And finally, we reach number 1, the greatest drink mentioned in the Bible. It is a drink that bridges the gap between the physical world and eternity. In John chapter 4, Jesus sits weary by a well in Samaria. A woman comes to draw water, and Jesus makes her an offer that echoes through eternity. He says in verse 14, "But whoever drinks of the water that I will give him will never be thirsty again. The water that I will give him will become in him a spring of water welling up to eternal life." Science tells us that the human body can only survive a few days without physical water. Every cell, every organ, every thought requires hydration. Water is the universal solvent. It cleanses, it transports nutrients, it is the very foundation of biological life. But Jesus was pointing to a deeper reality. Just as our physical bodies wither and die without H2O, our souls wither and die without the Spirit of God. The herbs, the wines, the milks, and the juices we have discussed today are magnificent, divine gifts designed to heal your temporary physical body. But the living water, the grace, forgiveness, and presence of Jesus Christ is the only substance in the universe designed to heal your eternal soul. You can drink the healthiest elixirs on earth, but you will eventually thirst again. But when you partake of the living water, your spiritual thirst is quenched forever. The Bible is not just a book of history. It is the ultimate manual for human flourishing. From the hyssop that purifies, to the pomegranate that protects, to the living water that saves. Science is not replacing the Bible. Science is simply discovering the brilliance of the Creator. So the next time you take a drink, remember the ancient wisdom. Nourish your body, and more importantly, nourish your soul. Subscribe for more biblical wisdom and science.